Hey everyone,
Hey.
It's been a while since we've both been in the same area together since our last review of the movies when we saw The Hunt. So for the time being, until everything gets back and running again with the theaters and everything for the future, we're deciding to do something a little different and try to add more content to the channel. For those of you who have been following, we actually did a Blu-ray collection not too long ago where I talked about all of my Blu-rays, and so I was thinking about doing a DVD collection as well, but I figured to kind of change it up and to also make it a little different. Me and him decided, well, he suggested to me on wanting to do something where we could basically be in the same room and talking about just random DVDs at times and basically go over, you know, our opinions of them and like just describe what they're like.
Now, we are going to be doing some other catch-up on movies like Lovebird, VFW, Run, Sweetheart, Run, and a few other stuff. So we'll catch up on that. So we thought, in the meantime, since we've both been kind of busy, I'm over here in my weekend off from work, we decided we'd go ahead and try this out. And,
yeah.
What we're going to do is we're gonna randomly pick a movie and pretty much go through his list of what he's got through back here. So
yeah.
Without further ado, you want to start off with your first movie?
All right, let's. As you can see, well, what's interesting before we go into it, I've got movies that are on DVDs like in front here, and then in the back I have movies that are in the back too. I know you can't really see it, but there's like movies they're like in the back basically. So I have quite a big collection here.
Yeah. I mean, we'll eventually get to the back and start talking about them. So.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess we'll start just picking out some random movies. So
yeah, pick up your first movie.
So my first one I'm going to go with was one I actually recently bought, which was the Batman TV series of the 1966, based on the original TV series. It's quite a lot of fun. We've talked about it in our retrospective with our Batman series, so not much huge stuff to go into, but you know, it's just one of those kind of movies that if you like this TV show, you definitely get a kick out of it as well, especially how, you know, it's campy, but it's a lot of fun, you know, and
I haven't seen it in a long time, so I can't really remember a lot. I grew up like watching this show, right? Because when I was a kid back in the 80s, I remember this was a big deal. So I just remember a lot of the show, and I think I've seen pieces, but I can't really remember much.
Yeah, well, if you remember, there was a couple of iconic scenes in there, like the one with the shark, where they come across and they're having to.
Oh yeah, the shark. Yeah.
And then there's the one where he's carrying that giant bomb around.
Okay, yeah, I remember. He's starting to bring back memories.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun though.
Put it back there. Yeah. All right, and the next film I want to talk about, you know, I've been taking a look at some of the stuff I want to, you know, elaborate on. And this is a film right here that I do think it's underrated because a lot of people don't talk about it. It's unappreciated, and I'm gonna have to go with The Last Boy Scout. This film was directed by Tony Scott and written by Shane Black, and this was what people like to refer to as Shane Black's $1 million script.
Yeah. And
this was a film that starred I forgot his name.
Bruce Willis.
Well, I knew Bruce Willis, but
Damon Wayans.
Damon Wayans, and the guy that played Milo and all them.
Oh, Taylor something.
Rest in peace. Yeah. But it also had Daniel Harris playing Bruce Willis's daughter.
Yeah.
And this film right here, I will tell you right now, to say that this Shane Black's $1 million script is just an understatement. This film is probably the best one-liner film of all time, next to Last Action Hero, which hopefully I'll get to, and we'll see. We'll talk about that. But I will tell you right now, I absolutely love this movie. I watched a little bit of a bunch of scenes. I like to go back to it every now and then on YouTube or watch the film. But when I was on YouTube, I noticed that a lot of people talk shit about this movie, and I get that it's generic, but I mean, it's the 90s, and this film was able to take a generic plot you've seen 1,000 times and make it really, really, really fun. And I thought the chemistry with Damian Wayans and Bruce Willis was fucking on point. Oh my god, there's so many lines in this film you can fucking quote, and just the quips are just on fucking par, and you can thank Shane Black for that. Because Shane Black is like a genius at that. And I will tell you right now, the guy who played Milo, dude was fucking hilarious villain. I love the dynamic where Bruce Willis is talking shit to him, like, touch me again, I'll kill you. Had that one dude from Sons of Anarchy,
Kim Coates.
And Yeah, it's just, I don't know, that part where the villain's like, has his daughter, and he's like, hey, motherfucker. Talk about he's going to, better like, back off, Joseph. I'm going to show your daughter how hot date I am. So, I mean, there's just it's so fucking fun. And this is, like I said, it's underrated, and no one talks about it very much.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's one of the most underrated films of the 90s, and it's actually, I think it might, it's in my top 3 as far as Tony Scott films, because I have that one, and I think I might have that one and True Romance kind of tied together.
I do,
but I love that they're both, you know.
True Romance was more like with Quentin Tarantino writing. That one had a lot to do with like better storytelling. This one took something so generic that probably would go straight to video if somebody else did it.
Yeah.
And they were able to make something that I feel like is rewatchable.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it is. And the story is still great.
Yeah.
I mean, for generic, a lot of people like to refer to this as Die Hard 2.0.
Yeah, like the real Die Hard after the
2.5. Yeah, because really it does feel like that.
Yeah.
Like if you made him John McClane and he had a bad thing with the cop being in the police, and you could say that he worked for an underground security private detective. Yeah. And then he was doing this, and then leading to 3. So yeah, I personally don't see the gripe about this film. A lot of people don't like it. I love it, so that's a film I like.
Fair enough. Well, let's get to another film that I consider like probably one of my most. If I'm going to go to a film that I can watch, basically as far as if I'm having a great time, if I'm drunk, or if I'm drinking, I'm going to go with Beer Fest.
Yes.
Beer Fest, to me, I think is a film that's definitely up there. I think I have it a little bit below Super Trooper as far as my favorite Broken Lizard films, because this one, other than Super Troopers, it's the most catchiest, and it just has a lot of great chemistry with the cast, and it makes me really want to go to Germany and actually, go to Oktoberfest and shit.
Yeah.
Now, I can't do it now, but I'm saying like down in the future and everything, if I ever get a chance to, it would be cool to, experience those kind of like, just that novelty of going to those festivals and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily the actual competitions that they have in there, just the overall experience being in Germany. And the whole like partying and the guys like all just fucking around with each other while they're going into getting prepared to go take down go into the beer fest in Germany. It's just a blast.
Yeah, you do see good chemistry with everybody, like the Super Troopers. You could tell that they have a fun time making their movies. And yeah, I agree with him. This is probably, with Super Troopers as their next best thing they did. In fact, I'm waiting on Potfest. I can't wait to see that because it does end with that. But yeah, I can't watch this movie without craving beer. I just can't. I fucking can't. I can't watch it on a weekday during work week because I want beer. So yeah, same here. So it's like, holy shit. Like, well, I remember I put it on one day when I had to go to work the next day. I'm like, I can't watch this. It's fucking just egging me to call in and go get some beer. So anyways, yeah, that is one of my favorite films from them. And the whole Oktoberfest, it does get you in that mood. You want to go there. I've always wanted to go there. So
yeah. And I was just watching it last night, and I was thinking to myself, man, it'd be really cool, man, if we ever got a chance to go to Germany and do something like this,
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
all right, another one of my good one. This one isn't a film that isn't underrated, but I will say that this was one of the coolest concepts I've seen in a long time. The Cabin in the Woods. This is a film that was written by Joss Whedon and was directed by Drew Goddard. And this is a film that had like Chris Hemsworth and hell of a cast. Yeah,
it was actually shot in I believe 2009. So it was actually it was on the shelf for about 3 years until it came out. So it was around the time when Chris Hemsworth was like coming out being a star and stuff. And this was a film that was released during his high point.
Yeah, and this was actually a good concept because this one takes a film which, by the way, in the trailers, it makes you feel like it's another typical Cabin Fever, Evil Dead type of movie. But little do you know, when you get into the story, these 5 people go to this cabin, and they literally, anything they pick and chooses their destiny. And it ends up being this underground world where these guys are just like, it comes off as something that you would expect from, what's his name? The director from Guardians of the Galaxy.
James Gunn.
James Gunn. It feels something James Gunn would do.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, like the world where they pretty much recreated every monster known to man, and to see in the third act when they actually find this place. And this is where it really goes batshit crazy, is whenever they're down there and they're finding out all these like cool creations and stuff like that they have, like the little glass thing with all the creatures and all that. Another thing I enjoyed was the guy from Billy Madison and the dude from Step Brothers, the father on that one. They pretty much are like, they kind of have like this, because it's like a horror comedy, like a dark comedy, and you got them pretty much have this underground world where they own all these monsters. They set all these scenarios up, and they pretty much just sitting there just bickering back and forth, and people placing bets how many people will die on this, and oh yeah, she's first, I got 50 on her and stuff like that. And I don't know, I just thought this was a different concept that we needed, something truly different, and I absolutely loved this movie.
I absolutely agree. It's a film that, to me, it's basically, if you look at it, it's a satire approach. About,
it is,
because basically the people that are underground and stuff, they're supposed to represent us, the audience, of how, you know how the audience who watch like the old movies that are from the 80s and stuff that were slasher films, things like that. It's what it's basically our point of view in their eyes, because they're basically making all the judges and stuff, and everything's like, oh, we should add that there and everything. So it's a great commentary about us as audiences, like in the actual horror movies.
I also like,
it has a feeling similar to this movie, The Truman Show, with the whole like monitored cameras everywhere and stuff like that.
Yeah, it pretty much is, because like cameras are pretty much like watching, security cameras are watching every move, and they set up so many good scenarios. They don't just say, hey, let a monster go after this, like, you know, like the beginning whenever the zombies are after them, or the hillbilly zombies are after them in the cabin. They pretty much try to make the scenario so impossible to beat that they pretty much can predict the deaths of these people. Well, and it's actually pretty neat.
And also, for those of you who haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a reason, too, why they do it, because there's a big twist at the end that we won't reveal if you haven't seen it, that basically understands why they have to do all this, too, to begin with. So I thought it was
that twist was pretty, and I will tell you, this film was incredibly gruesome. I like films that take chances. They didn't give a fuck, and it was cool seeing pretty much every monster you could think of in your fucking brain is in this movie, and knockoffs of classics like Jason or something. And it's cool to see like everything come to chaos at the end, and they all get their like certified kills. Yeah. So this was a fucking awesome movie. I like it when people come up with some new ideas, something so fucking different, and this worked for me. So I love this movie.
Fair enough. Yeah, and we get to some other ones that I definitely have a fun viewings for, and that next one I'm going to pick out is going to be a little known movie that didn't quite get the attention it came out with, but I had a fucking blast, and that's Bulletproof.
Yeah,
this is
an underrated film too, because a lot of people don't like it.
Yeah, this movie has gotten hate, but given this is another Damon Wayans type of movie where he's playing a cop. Well, this time he's the cop, and the person next to him, Adam Sandler, is basically the obnoxious, you know, one that's with him. So it's kind of the opposite approach, where Damon Wayans is playing the kind of Bruce Willis role from Last Boy Scout, and Adam Sandler is basically playing his role. Yeah. But this one I thought was a lot of fun, because not only did I think the chemistry was great between both of them, but it was cool to see Adam Sandler kind of take a different type of role, where he's playing more of an action guy. Yeah. And just the shenanigans they get into, and the, you know, having to survive from James Caan's men and everything, it's just, it's a blast.
And now, I'm not saying it's a gem by any means, but I do feel like it's an underrated 90s fun movie. Something you could just pop inside your DVD player, Blu-ray player, and just enjoy. Yeah, I thought it was a fun movie too. I thought them two worked really well. I like the little shenanigans they do get into. Yeah, and it kind of reminded me of another film that came out not far from this movie that starred Tim Robbins and Martin Lawrence. That was kind of what was it? And one was a cop and one was arrested.
I forgot the name of it.
Was in trouble.
Yeah.
Pretty much a copy. They're both the same.
Yeah,
much.
I forgot the name of it, but I know what you're talking about. So yeah, this one I do find it pretty a lot of fun. So
now here's a film that I felt like was considered one of the best remakes, not of all time, but it's up there with, like, you know, we saw these trends in early 2000s. We started getting these trends of remakes of classic films, and I found that this was a really, really, really good remake. This is Last House on the Left, the remake that came out, I believe, in 2009.
2009, yeah.
Yeah. And this film starred an early Aaron Paul, who from Breaking Bad.
He was still working on Breaking Bad at that time.
Yep, Breaking Bad at the time. And this is, if you guys remember, was originally done by Wes Craven back in the early 70s. And that one was kind of had like that snuff film type feel. It was his earlier days, which is right here. And I will say that it was cool, but for like the snuff film look, but it was a type of horror film and a rarity, kind of like when I said with It, that I felt like could do a remake. And they ended up remaking this one in 2009. And I will tell you right now, it also brought the guys back, Wes Craven, and then it brought a dude that did
Sean
Cunningham. Join him on this one. And I will say that this was a good film, and this is pretty much like that story. You follow this family that goes out in the woods to a secluded area, and you have these 3-4 bad people pretty much, cross paths with the little girl. They rape her, and I'll tell you right now, talk about fucking pushing the limits on this, because this has one of the most disturbing rape scenes I've ever seen in a fucking movie. And honestly, I could not believe the MPA passed it, but, honestly, I like it when MPA steps back on films, because it lets directors show brutality. It makes you feel for the character more. And that scene is, like, it sticks to me to this fucking day. And the villains in this film were fucking menacing. They were not fucking playing in this movie. And I will say that I love the score, the cinematography, the leading girl, which we saw her in Shark Night. Anyways, I don't want to talk about that movie, but she's plays the girl that gets raped in this movie, the main girl, and has Monica Potter and that one dude, I forgot his name. Tony Goldwyn. And I will say that the brutality, the payback was fucking bittersweet in this film. This was a good, solid remake in my opinion, and this goes up there in the 2000s to now as far as horror remakes. So I like this one.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's a film that I will admit, as a remake, I'm going to be a rarity. I actually preferred it over the original. Yeah. Even though I like the original, but the thing is, I think with the original, tonally wise, the original film had scenes in that felt kind of off. Like, there were scenes with, like, these cops that show up that are looking for them, and they play, like, this weird, quirky music that
basically what he's trying to say, if you've seen Halloween 5, when they did the little wee, like, and playing like quirky Pee Wee Herman music when you see cops. Yeah. It's basically what they did in that one. So the tone was off. Again, Wes Craven, that was like his first movie ever. So
one of his
first movies. So he had hardly any experience. So he was going as kind of like a student film type thing.
Which is still worse, because that overall snuff type of film really gives the vibe. Yeah. But I just preferred the remake because it kept it more straight. It was more serious, and it was when I saw in the theater, when I saw that scene where she got raped, I was like fucking disturbed by it. And then the overall movie itself, it puts a lot of what could happen. Yeah, the whole revenge part I thought was unique, and it just really shows, like, it really did what a remake could do with this movie. So I do highly enjoy it. So let's go. My next movie I'm going to pick out is a film that, believe it or not, it's actually gotten like it's a very different type of cop movie, but I really enjoy it for what it did, and that's a film called Brooklyn's Finest, which is a film that was from the director of Training Day, Antoine Fuqua, who in this movie it deals with like 3 different storylines going. You got Ethan Hawke, Richard Gere, and Don Cheadle all playing cops, and they have to basically they have their own little subplots going on and everything. And I thought this was like one of the last great, like, one of the most like underrated cop movies that I've seen, and it's definitely not on the level as like Training Day, but it still feels like it could be a continuation, because Ethan Hawke plays a character that's kind of similar from Training Day in this, and you could say that he maybe got transferred to Brooklyn or something. Because it really...
And not only that, I believe he also kind of gets corrupted a little bit in this one.
Kind of,
So it's like he did take on what
Denzel Washington
Denzel Washington was like, kind of... You could say that Denzel, at the end of Training Day, when he walks off, and in the night as Denzel dies, you can kind of say that he just got so corrupted from that situation. Like, all cops are corrupt type feel, and so he went to a different direction of desperation. So,
yeah, and
that could be an unannounced sequel,
unofficial sequel. Yeah, basically, and plus it deals with a lot of the greediness that goes along with Brooklyn and everything, and plus. This was, I believe this was Wesley Snipes' like first movie he did in a long time because he hadn't been because it was before he went to prison, and for tax evasion, and it was cool seeing him in a role like this, and I couldn't get enough of it, and I haven't watched it in a while, but I found it a really good cop movie, yeah. So yeah.
All right, next movie is a really good comic duo, and these two did a phenomenal film just, I think, a year prior, and people still to refer to that movie at all their lines every year. And this film was a movie that came out, I think, a couple years after this movie, and I'm going to go with Black Sheep. Black Sheep is pretty much the other film, aside from Tommy Boy, which starred Chris Farley and David Spade. And this right here, I find to be underrated. I know a lot of people, I get that it's not Tommy Boy, and I get that, I don't know, it's just like, it's not Tommy Boy. Tommy Boy was so, like, perfect for everybody that they felt like they wanted to trash this movie.
Yeah.
To oblivion. And honestly, I thought this, not only I find it underrated, and I find it fucking hilarious. I don't think it's better than Tommy Boy by any means, but there's some stuff in this film that I feel like holds up today. And I absolutely love this movie. If you don't know the story, this film follows Chris Farley and David Spade. Chris Farley's brother is running for mayor, and he's running against a Hillary Clinton type look-alike, so to speak. She's trying to, how politicians are. They're trying to rig the election between one another. David Spade's character works for the brother, and because the brother is pretty much making the one that's trying to run for, it's not mayor, it's governor.
Governor, yeah.
And since that one, Chris Farley's playing his whole shenanigans, kind of making the brother look bad, and is going to end up ruining his election, he pays David Spade pretty much to keep him out away, and of course Chris Farley doesn't want to. Chris Farley pretty much they go on this kind of like shenanigan, kind of like journey through a bunch of bullshit, and you got Chris Farley pretty much trying to do good for his brother, but you know how he is, and Tommy Boy acts just like that, and pretty much, I don't know, it's just kind of hard. I mean, it's really, that's pretty much the blunt of it, but I find this movie fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I thought it was, their chemistry is good as always. It was good to see another movie and not have to rely on one film for the rest of our lives since the sad passing of Chris Farley. And I thought these two were fucking hilarious. I love the part where they're at the cabin and they have to stay at this like secluded cabin because he got into some shit in the concert whenever he said,
no,
it wasn't it?
Well, no, it was before that. They had to go to the concert because he got fired from his job, and his job got on fire. So he had to his building where he worked at got on fire by these two guys.
It's been a while since I saw this, but
it got on fire by these two guys that were working for that girl, for that woman, and they had to go out there to basically keep themselves secluded. Yeah,
basically, what I mean by that, what holds up to this, why this film holds up to this day is. A lot of people like to refer to this as the 2016 election between Trump and Hillary. And pretty much the whole film is basically them setting the woman up to look like she's bad. She's, setting her opponent up to make him look like he's bad. Kind of like how politicians do. And because of the world we're living in now, it just feels like it holds up.
Well, it's fair because this actually came out, this was 20 years before the 2016 election, so it was...
It kind of predicted the whole, like, they end up catching the woman at the end and find out she was using dead voters and shit like that. But anyways, I love the part where they're at the cabin and have to stay there and, then it ends up like that fucking bat they're trying to hit. Yeah. And they're trying to fucking trap the bat, and then the whole...
We're at the concert.
Well, they're laying down in the bed, and the fucking tornado windstorm came through, and then it's hailing on Chris Farley, and then the whole like where the rock hit the fucking thing, cabin, and they're all walking like this. So I mean, just so much shit. Like this movie was just all around a good '90s, just put in comedy. Yes, it's not as good as Tommy Boy.
Yeah, I agree. It's a film that, while it's not as great and iconic as Tommy Boy, I still hold it a lot of fun. And there's just so much. It's just got so much warmth and so much like funny moments I couldn't get enough of. And it's if they would have ever done a third movie with both of them together, it would have been really cool if they went out to do a holy trilogy, basically.
Yeah.
But so yeah. So my next one I'm going to go with is I'm going to go with a film that, believe it or not, is it's talked about as one of the best comedies of all time. That's going to be Clerks.
Oh yeah.
One of the film that got Kevin Smith into his spotlight, famous into Hollywood. And I've got the 10th anniversary edition on DVD. Comes with buttloads of features.
That's one of my top 10 favorite comedies ever made.
Absolutely. It's I actually kind of relate to it in a way because I don't work in a store, but I work in basically having to deal with customers, and I can sometimes get that kind of vibe at times, being able to having one day where I really shouldn't be at work, and I'm getting so like kind of stressed out over people I talk to and stuff, but it just has so much vibe.
You know why why that's so good? It's because not only that's his first movie, but he was not he had no really any experience other than
he went to film school. He went to,
but he's not famous. No one knows him. He lives in the fucking neighborhood just as your everyday average Joe.
Yeah,
and they can relate to a lot of us.
Yeah,
you people. You go to work, our lives. And how you deal with your job, your dead end job. It's most of us have. Feels like, and you can relate to that. And that's man. I loved the chemistry of Dante and Randall in this film.
Yeah.
And any film they're ever together, and they're fucking hilarious. And the humor is, I don't know, it's like, how would you describe it?
It's basically,
it's not raunchy per se.
It's more like, because this actually got controversy when it came out. It's vulgar, but it's meant to be in that kind of
dry way,
realistic type of dialogue, where you can basically do dialogue like this, and it can be coming across as funny, and it can be actually very well putting from how it would be in that type of movie.
A lot of people were at the time it was so different because people just saw movies, what Hollywood gave you.
Yeah.
And it was cool seeing something that a lot of people could relate to, because it was, when he shot this, it pretty much, he was like I said, everyday Joe, just working at a 9-to-5 job and all that shit.
Yeah.
And basically, he shot this at a real place right down the street. And I kind of grew up, like, 80s, 90s was like a deal where, like, convenience stores, for some reason, were fucking hangout spots. That, malls were the two fucking hangout spots, mall rats. Which
Clerks.
I almost believe this fucker lived the same life I did.
Yeah.
And I know I grew up around that era, so I know what he's talking about when he made back-to-back those two movies.
Yeah.
And those two spots. But yeah, hanging out just dialoguing. Like, the dialogue in this film, if you were to make a big-budget film, it would make sense, because a lot of dialogue really it's just improvised. It's naturally
talked. Yeah.
Like how like me and him, or you and your friends would sit and just naturally just bring something up and talk about it.
Yeah.
They talk about Star Wars because they're big Star Wars fans. A lot of the dialogue is about superheroes because they're big fans of superheroes. Not to mention, since it is their first movie, they introduce us to Jay and Silent Bob in this.
Yeah, and it's first, and it's the only time that Kevin Smith has shot in anything in black and white, and until we get like references to Clerks later on in his other films, but it's a great film that basically it's not only basically a coming of age kind of thing too, where you're living the life of these guys that deal with in retail and stuff, and what they go through. It's not only it's something on a relatable level, but it's just something that's just so fun to watch, because you can see all the shit they give each other too with Dante and Randall.
Yeah, like Dante is like the down to earth guy that's going through a lot of like midlife crisis type situations,
which I can relate in some ways.
We can all relate. Like, some people can relate who takes a lot of things too seriously, and then you have Randall, who's like the comic relief that's really vulgar and he doesn't give a fuck.
That's like you.
That's like me sometimes. I like to refer to that, and so yeah, he has no care in the world. He sees life as just day by day. Let's have fun. Like, he's a kid at heart. He doesn't want to grow up. Fuck it, While Dante's looking for a career and wants to know what purpose he has in life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of good heart in that film. Not to mention, it being Kevin Smith's first movie, all of the people that's in it are friends of his that have no experience in acting.
Yeah, especially that one guy who plays what was it?
His mom's even in the movie. Is the milk lady.
Yeah, and then you have that one guy who's the Willem, that bearded kind of guy. He's actually in the movie in 3 different parts. He's in 2 different parts. He's the same guy with the hat and with the beard, and he's like that's beautiful, man. That guy, and then. That same actor is playing another guy that gets up on the rooftop, and it says, "I can open the store. I gotta get cigarettes."
Another thing is the guy who Randall insults whenever he plays the goody two shoes. That's gonna call the manager when Randall showed him the naked women when they're cussing. Yeah. That guy's actually part of their little comic show.
Oh yeah.
Kevin Smith's little comic show he does. Where he does about comic books and shit.
Yeah, gotcha.
But Randall, they're sitting there listening to him. Randall cuss, and he's like, "Dude, you guys should be fired. I'm gonna call." I mean, you could relate to this because I could relate to this back when I was younger, working in fast food or anywhere. If you accidentally said something, they'll fucking, "I want to talk to your manager," and then he goes, "Oh yeah, look at this," and it's a picture of a pussy.
Think you see your kidneys?
Yeah,
think you see your kidneys?
Yeah, that movie is just fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Man.
So it's
speaking of comedy, I'm going to tell you right now, and I don't know how much flack I'm going to get for this, because this film was, I find this film to be extremely underrated, and a lot of people actually say this is one of the worst films he ever did out of his career, and I'm going to fucking tell you, fuck no. This is called The Cable Guy with Jim Carrey. This film came out in 1998, 96, that's what it was. And this film follows Jim Carrey, who plays a guy who grew up he didn't really have much of a parent figure, and he became he's obsessed with television because television helped him grow up and learn the ways he is, and he has a problem with identity, and he changes his identity a lot in this film, but mainly he's known as the Cable Guy, who he runs into Matthew Broderick's character, who just got recently broken up, and basically he comes and does cable for Matthew Broderick's character, and he kind of wheels him into like a friendship, and when he takes the friendship, they start going out and hanging out and stuff. He starts noticing kind of sinister shit with Jim Carrey's character, and I don't want to give the whole synopsis on this, but I will say that this film is easily one of the top 5 best of Jim Carrey's. It's not the worst. I've seen a lot of people say that. I found the film to be really brilliant. It was done by Ben Stiller, who helped direct the movie. It was his directing debut?
Maybe, I can't remember.
Yeah, because he also stars in it as the killers that they're following on TV. And it is really a good story about obsession with TV, obsession with film life and shit like that. And Jim Carrey plays it off. It's a good dark comedy. It's hilarious like any Jim Carrey's any other film he's done. He's fucking out of this world funny as shit. And he had a good chemistry with Matthew Broderick in this film. But what really makes it kind of different, stand out, was the dark sinister of how he's turning throughout the movie. It kind of creeps you the fuck out a little bit. Because people do exist like this. Yeah. People who didn't have much of an upbringing, and they just fucking lose it and shit.
It's very, it's more of like I don't want to say character study. It's dealing with a guy who, it's a good, character study in quotes of someone that deals with type of mental illness, so to speak.
Yeah, mental
It's basically like if you took Joker, but on a different kind
of level. You don't ever focus on the mental illness.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm saying.
As far as doctors.
But it becomes basically a stalkerish type vibe, which in a way it worked, but at the time when it came out, it was a film that a lot of people just didn't really know what to expect, because a lot of people that were hardcore Jim Carrey fans, they were thrown off by him playing this type of role, and the movie just didn't bring to them.
A lot of people expected it to be just like Ace Ventura or The Mask, and this film took a darker tone as you get through the story. And while it still sticks with its comedy, it does it's like a dark comedy. And some of the sinister stuff, you do feel like he's a creep, but then again, you also feel sorry for his character, because you go into deep backstory about, he didn't have a dad, his mom was a whore, his mom never was around, said, watch some TV and let that. You kind of feel sorry for the dude, because that kind of explains his has begged for friendship with Matthew Broderick because he has no friends. No one likes him.
It's in a way it's like how we talked about last year, that movie The Fanatic came out. It was a similar plot element.
Yeah, it's a similar plot, but that was like a low budgeted version of this. Like,
yeah.
I don't understand when I read people do these contest stuff, vote out which one's the worst, getting to the best of this characters or this actors or actresses' best movie. This movie's always picked by people saying, get that piece of shit out of here.
Yeah.
I don't get that. It was really good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we all got our own opinions, I guess.
True. All right, now my next one I'm going to go with is a film that it's basically kind of started the whole genre of doing basically what's called the found footage. Well, it revolutionized the found footage genre at its time. And that movie I'm going to go with is The Blair Witch Project.
Yep.
Now, this is a film that, depending on who you talk to, it's either hated or it's actually, liked a lot. So you're not probably going to find a middle ground.
No.
It really just depends if you're really into these type of movies. Because in 1999, when this movie came out, the hype was everywhere. This is a film that, when it came out, people thought this was a fucking real movie, like a snuff film.
Yeah, this came out in 99, so I was a teenager, well in the teenage age, when this came out, and I grew up around the hype on this. I don't think I've seen a movie in a long time that probably got as much hype as this. This was so hyped for a whole year before its release. People actually were traveling to where they shot this movie. People were believe this really did fucking happen.
And the marketing was crazy.
Marketing
because we had
fucking
posters,
amazing.
We had all kinds of marketing that they did around that basically claimed the movie. The people went missing.
And not only that, they actually had like a witch book with that emblem,
that logo,
and they were actually sending out, and people were buying the books thinking, oh my god, this is the real lost evidence and shit of what happened. Not to mention, they also were making up fake news articles, and people were reading articles and thinking they were real and shit.
Yeah.
This town actually, I think, got involved and helped with the promotion on that.
They did,
and made it look so fucking real.
Did,
and this town had a lot of fucking people touring, trying to go in this woods where they shot this at.
Yeah, and just the whole vibe of them being lost in the woods and stuff. Not only does it still to this day that I like, because anything could really happen if you're in a fucking lost in the forest somewhere that's secluded. Yeah. There is things like this that could happen, I believe, and just it has that whole realistic feel that I appreciate, because they're doing it like it's basically you're watching someone's home camera footage of them out in the woods and shit. And what I appreciate the fact that you don't see anything that's really going on with everything, and because it's all led to an imagination. Yeah. Now, I'm not gonna go off topic, but I will say that I did a few years ago when the other Blair Witch came out, which I still need to own. I don't mind that one as much. I know a lot of people, fans of the first one, didn't like that one, but that one, if you want to really see more about what they do with it, that's one they give you more answers on. Because
the one in 2016 actually tries to be the true part 2 and connects. That's like the guy's sister.
Yeah,
and
we actually get to see more about what the Blair Witch is and stuff. So, but what I appreciate with this one overall is that these people that are getting lost, you feel for them, because even though it's shot in that whole aspect.
Woods.
Well, since it's shot in that whole camera aspect that can be kind of disorienting for some people, I still think that it worked, and it's a movie I can watch at nighttime and still get fucking chills with.
Yeah.
And so now for an ass, I do not own Book of Shadows Blair Witch 2, and I will admit, if I ever own that film, it's either I get it for a cheap price for a collector's, or someone gave it to me.
That one sucked. I will say the only 2 things that were right, they did right with Book of Shadows was A, they did good with the whole soundtrack with Marilyn Manson, and 2, I did like how they were everything. There was a lot of Easter eggs at part 1.
Yeah,
despite there's a horrible fucking cast. The Hollywood feel of the movie, when that one was a fucking the found footage, and you went from that to Hollywood.
Well, and plus, what could have been if they would have gave the director more of his vision, what they would have went with, I could have gave it more credit, because I did hear they did suffer from studio interference with that one. Yeah. So I get what they were going to go for, but unfortunately, the final movie that we got, it's unfortunately a fucking mess, and I to this day hold it as one of the worst endings I've ever seen in my fucking life too. Yeah. So. Yeah, but the first one, though, I still wholly recommend as my go-to as far as found footage movies.
Yeah, it is one of the greats when you talk about found footage. I'm not really a big fan of Paranormal Activity, and never liked any of them. And honestly, there's a lot of found footage films out there that I just don't think are really that great.
Well, and there's
that's one of the greats, and there's some other ones that
like
are good.
Chronicle.
Yeah, Chronicle was like the other one. In fact, I think Chronicle's my favorite. I'd have that over Blair Witch, but Blair Witch I put more respect on because they created it. They made it a fucking
they brought
thing.
It wasn't a new thing before because we had Cannibal Holocaust that kind of did that.
Yeah,
but this one basically put it in the more mainstream.
But you're thinking back in the 70s or 80s. Yeah, it actually looked like it was 70s. I thought.
I think it was, but
it pretty much wasn't really a big thing until they made it a mainstream theater.
Right, and then they brought it back with Paranormal Activity when it came. No, it was Cloverfield. When Cloverfield came out, and that's when it brought it back.
Now everything we pull out of his DVD thing, we're not going to agree on. And there's going to be some films he probably owns, he doesn't even like, but he does collect, so he's going to have it in there anyways. There's a film in particular I want to pull out here that he thought he can give it a pass, but I personally, I agree with a lot of people on this one. I didn't like it at all, and it pissed me off. It was Max Payne. This one is a film following the popular video game Max Payne with the same name, and it's about, Max Payne who loses his family. If he played the video game, loses his family, and they're killed, and he's pretty much out for blood, and he has no care in the fucking world. He wants to die. He doesn't give a shit, but at the same time, he wants to find out who did his family.
Yeah.
And if he dies, he doesn't give a fuck. And this is a movie that they brought back. I think it was 2006. 8. Yeah, I can't remember the years. But this one starred Mark Wahlberg, and I will tell you right now, the only thing I thought they did right was Mark Wahlberg in this film. I did like the soundtrack. I did like the dark look to the tone of the film, but that lost me from there. This film took a Constantine type look, and when it started getting to the monsters and all that shit, all that stuff, that movie. It's almost like the director didn't even play the fucking video games.
Yeah.
The whole drug scenes would work if it wasn't a Max Payne movie. Maybe it was something else, I would have got on board, but this being called Max Payne just fucking lost it for me. And I do want to see a true remake to this. Mark Wahlberg can come back and play him. I had no problem with his performance. But everything else, I just could not fucking sit and watch. It was too crowish, and I didn't think it fit in this world.
Yeah, I keep in mind, I don't think the movie's great. I don't even think the movie is really, like, looking back on it, it's that good like I remember it from all the things from it. I don't mind it as much. I just find it decent, but I agree. It definitely is compared to the games.
Yeah.
It strays away a lot from it, and the only thing that it really did was just capture the tone, minus the Constantine shit. But if they would have gotten... But what I appreciated was that the whole, like, the film noir detective feel, I think, was there. It had potential.
The noir can be in the world that went with, but the whole problem is the monsters.
I think the problem, too, was the fact that it was limited when it came out because they wanted to go for a more PG-13 route. And while the unrated version didn't really add much, you still want to get the vibe of him fucking shooting bad guys like in the games and stuff.
Yeah.
Which I understand they wanted to try to maybe do something a little different, but they strayed away a little too far because they were doing it like Constantine.
Yeah, I mean we had
because they
had gargoyles in this movie. I'm like, what the fuck?
Now,
man?
if it would have came out maybe in the early 2000s, let's say if it came out around the times the game did, and you would have gotten maybe the Wachowskis involved to maybe do it. Maybe that could work because that was around when the Matrix was popular. So maybe if it came out around the Matrix was popular, I could maybe see it around maybe
I could
something
see
like that.
Keanu Reeves playing them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But like honestly, when I went and saw it in theaters and I started seeing all these monsters and gargoyles and all that shit, I'm like, oh my god, this looks like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't fully hate the film, but
man.
it is definitely a film I consider really, really like not that great. And out of the films I've seen of that director. Keep in mind, we talked about this in our Die retrospective. He's the same director that fucking did Good Day to Die Hard, which I don't own for good reason, but I'm just saying, he's the same director did that and also did the Omen remake. So those are two films I don't own.
The Omen remake was another fucking piece of shit. Good Day to Die Hard is another piece of shit. So that explains, and not only that, going back to that director naming some of the movies again, it proves my point that it was given to somebody who didn't give a fuck. Because the guy didn't know what the hell that game was about. He doesn't know a shit about Die Hard because he truly didn't know John McClane at all in his movie.
Yeah.
And then fucking the other movie,
The Omen.
Omen. he got so damn lazy. He just said, "Fucking let's just
carbon copy."
Yeah,
and the only but out of the films, this is the only film I consider at least like tolerable. And that's a stretch. I'm just saying, but but overall, so now, so but I agree. If they ever do a reboot to do the game justice, I would be
somebody. Since we're on this new thing where people are actually taking care of video games, like with Sonic, where people are starting to make good video game adaptation movies. We had it with the Warcraft, and then we had it with Sonic. So I'm hoping somebody takes that and grabs it and says, you know what, I care about this. I played the games. I know what the story's going to be about.
Yeah. So fair enough. Now, as far as films that I consider to be like if I'm in the straight mood for pure action and I want to go for like a whole like espionage type of role, and also the film that when I go to as far as that can be also part of a similar vibe of James Bond. Yeah, I would go with The Bourne Identity. Yeah, because this is a film that to this day I hold as one of my favorite Matt Damon movies, and well. The first one I still hold as the best. I still appreciate the other two as well, because with this one, it's cool that we got a different type of espionage film where that's dealing with like amnesia and stuff, and you're having to have him basically find out who he is and stuff like that. And I will admit, the other two, Supremacy and Ultimatum, that was a perfect trilogy, I think, that hold it ground. And I don't own the fifth one, I will someday. But I will admit, I wasn't a big fan of Legacy. That was a film, to me, I felt was not, like, up to par with the other ones. Even though I didn't mind Jeremy Renner, his performance was great, and I just think that the story they went with just wasn't up on par with the other three films.
Yeah, I was a big fan of these this whole trilogy right here. I remember whenever they first came out, I was there day one on all of these. And, I loved the first one. It still was a really good, it was I thought this one was the best, knowing that he wasn't as powerful as he became in the other movies. He was dealing with his amnesia, trying to find his identity, but he was very vulnerable. He was going through some fucking shit, trying to find out, and that big reveal at the end was really good. This was truly a good, all-around good movie. The other ones were fun, action-packed sequels, and getting to the Ultimatum, which being the final one. Find out who did this all from all the movies was awesome. Yeah, so, and I agree. I didn't see this movie, but I saw parts of it. And this one tried to do where Matt Damon wasn't coming back at the time. They said, let's build a world around him.
Let's do more of a cycle kind of thing.
Kind of like let's do like a spin-off, so to speak.
Yeah, and they basically knew after that when they couldn't do success with that one, they had to bring back in the fifth movie, which
called Jason Bourne,
which I don't own, but I'm going to own eventually. And it's my least favorite of the series, but I still didn't mind it too much. It was just forgettable, but it was still it tried. Is what I'm saying.
Jason Bourne, I thought it was okay. It was what you do not do when you make a perfect trilogy. You introduce you bring your character back, and you give us a less powerful villain than all three movies.
Yeah. Even though it had some cool moments, I can see why it felt like it was kind of unnecessary in a way, because you want to get that vibe of kind of go on a high note with the trilogy. So yeah.
All right. Now this next film I want to talk about is a film that has divided people since it came out, and I don't think I have to go into deep detail of why it divided people. And to this day, it divides people. And in fact, I was on the hatred side of this film up until I truly grew up and said, you know what, I'm going to watch the film as is and see how to appreciate it better and try to minus out the name title. And I'm going to go with Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. This is a film that I will admit, I fucking hated this movie because it didn't have Michael Myers. That's all I saw. That right there is all you need right there, and then it just pisses you the fuck off. Yeah. But when I saw it on, and I decided to put it on again, I said, you know what? I'm going to fucking crop that out, and I'm just going to pretend it's called that. I'm going to truly watch the movie as is. And I'll tell you right now, it is when you do that, and you just pay attention, and just don't worry about Michael Myers. This is a really good fucking movie. This is a truly good movie, and I admit it, I was wrong. I went back on my word and I said, you know what? I'm fucking wrong on this. This is truly good. And John Carpenter's score is fucking amazing.
Absolutely.
In this fucking movie. In this film, we follow this doctor who pretty much, some strange shit goes around this town with a guy who owns kind of like this. It's like a
mask factory.
It's a mask factory that's pretty much capturing kids who put it on, and it kills them. And the doctor behind this is pretty much the guy from they bring back in the franchise, right?
No.
Or they try to do something like that.
It's a theory going around that he's possibly connected to it, but no, it's a different character.
Yeah, this movie, what they tried to do, John Carpenter wanted to do was, after Halloween 2, we got Michael Myers. He was officially killed off, and they wanted to turn the Halloweens into a anthology series where we get the same title, and he's going to keep the numbers always adding up, but it's not going to be the same movie every year. And he didn't even want to do a Halloween 2. He wanted Halloween 1 to be it. But people begged for the Michael Myers character, so he did 2. So when he did 2, he died. People assumed, okay, because he did 1 and 2, Halloween 3 is definitely about Michael Myers. It's not. There is a thing where he does watch the whole thing on setting, while he's on the TV while he's tied up. And I have a theory where you can tie this in if you truly want to. Me and him talked about it. It's kind of clever, I think. I had this theory. I feel like it's clever. But anyways, so we follow this doctor and this girl. They pretty much go to this psychotic guy who... And I like the whole the witch type theme they're going with the whole Irish thing. The Simhale.
Silver Shamrock.
Yeah. No, it's the whole Hallows Eve Irish thing.
Oh, All Hallows Eve or something.
No, it's Simhain or Simhale.
Yeah. I forgot the name of it.
Yeah, it's Simhale or whatever, but it's pretty much... it's like... that's basically why he's doing it for. It's a curse type thing.
Yeah.
Or some kind of like witchcrafty type thing. But the doctor in this is really, really good. He's fucking brutal as shit. This film is really, really graphic. And you see kids' fucking heads bursting and bugs coming out. This film really still keeps the whole Halloween feel to it, despite, it not having Michael Myers in it. It still does. In fact, I think at times it does better with the Halloween theme more than the first 2 movies. As far as the whole Halloween theme or trick-or-treater and stuff. Because the other ones, it's there, but it's not, because they want to focus on Michael Myers and Laurie Strode. This one did it really good. The score is one of my favorites of the... I don't want to call it franchise, because I really try to just exclude this out of Halloween with Michael Myers. But, I will say that this, if you can refrain from that, it's still... I thought it was a good movie. It was something different. And I wish that we might... that now that I saw this, and me being part of the people that hate it, I wish I can go back on it and maybe we could appreciate what John Carpenter was trying to do. Probably would have got some cool-ass Halloween-style movies. But,
yeah. I agree, yeah. It's definitely a film that, even though it's separate from the other films, I still look at it as its own individual Halloween film, and the overall atmosphere is great. The score was fantastic.
Is really good.
And also, I'm not going to lie here, it's actually one of my favorite, it's in my top... favorite performances of Tom Atkins, because I love this, and neither one would be Night of the Creeps you might go to, but this one I thought he was very great.
That one he was really good. This one, like, as far as like seriousness, Night of the Creeps, if you want like one-liner Tom Atkins, that's the best one.
Yeah, but
he's always throwing one line of cracks in that movie.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this one, I mean, the fucking brutality of those fucking robots going around crushing skulls.
And that part where like that one woman is like has like that chip or whatever, and it's in the motel that they're in, and her face is like like a mess.
The little light that goes in her. Yeah, the whole Silver Shamrock thing with the masks and the
that
world
catchy theme song.
Yeah, the fucking we'll say that it's catchy and it's annoying at the same time when it keeps playing.
Yeah,
but it is catchy to have on Halloween night. But, the whole, he's taking over the world and using that kind of like the Irish witchcraft thing. Yeah. That was pretty cool. The whole Hallows Eve, they're using the style of what created Halloween as a form of, what they're trying to do.
And in a way, there's a theory.
The style of Halloween is strong.
And there's a theory that you could get the idea of the actual thing that they use for that is what they would use for Michael Myers, supposedly
Yeah.
as a continuity. So that kind of could
because
work.
You got to think these robots are walking around
And they're structured like
they're structured like Michael Myers, and the way they kill people is like how Michael Myers kills people. So it's led to believe that maybe Tom Atkins, instead of, if you get rid of the Halloween music that was playing when they showed the movie Halloween, you could say that he's watching surveillance cameras. So there's this theory that doctor from Part 6, or whatever. I know people don't like the whole Thorn. I agree with you, but if you really want to keep the franchise weird and different, they were related somehow to that guy.
Yeah,
that could be his brother or something. That doctor.
Well, it's funny because the main villain of the film is the guy who was off of RoboCop, who played the old man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoy it still, and
I'm glad I gave it instead of just hating it because of the name. Yeah, I'm glad I gave it a second chance because like I said, I hate it.
It's a film that grows on you.
Yeah, it does grow on you. So
fair enough. Now, getting to some other ones here, I'm gonna go with. If we're looking at some other ones that I go to as far as like entertainment and just being able to just sit back and chill out with and stuff and actually have a great time, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Hot Fuzz. This is a film that, it's the second film of the Cornetto trilogy that Edgar Wright directed with, starting with Shaun of the Dead, which I also own, and the other one that I haven't seen to this day, which is The World's End. This is a film that, when I think of like satirical cop movies, this is my go-to besides Last Action Hero.
Yeah,
because this one was not only hilarious with.
Well, it's not only that; it's giving us the British version of their version of satiric cops. Yeah. When we got Last Action Heroes, the more American.
This is the one what happens with police, and it's also just overall police movies itself that they're making fun of. And essentially, this is what I would go to as far as like if I want something that takes itself in a more kind of straightforward type of movie, but also plays in on the whole jokes with being over self-aware and stuff. Yeah. This one was not only hilarious, but also it's brutal, especially with because it deals with Nicholas Angel, played by Simon Pegg, who has to go to this village out in the country, and he realized that there's a killer going around picking off people that are affiliated with some type of plot going on that they're dealing with, and it definitely has quite its brutality, like Shaun of the Dead does.
It's funny as hell. But what you also appreciated about is it's one of those who done it type of vibes
because you're wondering who the killer is, and so it's just not only was the cast all hilarious together, especially with them two, with their chemistry always on point, like it was in Shaun of the Dead with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. It's just like I appreciate that they're also throwing in the whole. Quips about how there's certain because what's also pretty cool is that it's a character arc involving with Simon Pegg's character, because he starts out as a guy who takes himself so serious for his job, and as it goes along, he starts to basically, and I quote, switch off. He has to basically let loose and become pretty much the badass equivalent of what you see in cop movies, because his friend actually tells him how to do that and stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was a good kind of satire type of fun on cop movies. It was funny. There's a film that I felt like that this was a better version of, and they did the same, apples and oranges, because it wasn't about cops. I thought this film was the better version of what Club Dread was trying to do. Because Club Dread was the whole same thing, where it was comedy and then who done it, killer island thing. Even though Club Dread is
more of a slasher.
It's still the same in a way,
similar,
because they're going with the comedy mixed with whodunit killing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie was truly funny. I loved them two together. I loved them in Paul.
I've seen that one too. That one was also great, which wasn't directed by Edgar Wright, but you could still.
It feels like
it could. Yeah.
And I wish Edgar Wright did it so it could be part of the quadrilogy.
Yeah, which I have heard that The World's End's pretty good too. It's just it's not as like great as the other two from what I hear. Yeah. But it's still a fun.
Like it was a step down.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. So.
But I heard it wasn't. It was actually pretty good though. So yeah.
Alrighty. In fact, yeah, we're going to take a break here right now. So this is going to be end of part 1. So come back and watch part 2 here. And
yeah, all right. Well, fair enough. We'll see y'all here later.
All right, later.